Welcome again, good morning. And today we have two items on the agenda. First one is demo how to troubleshoot with traces using MidPoint Studio. And I will give some interactive session explaining how to do it. It won't be extremely detailed, but I think it will be enough just to explain what the tool is capable of and how you can use it and how you can experiment it by yourself. And then at the end of the session, I would like to discuss about topic for the next time. So let's start. Okay, so the presentation again is about debugging using MidPoint Studio. And I will start with the setup. We have only a single user. We don't need more for this. I'm trying to keep it simple so you can easily get oriented in the whole logging and what is happening in there. I have created a single outbound resource. It's a CSV file. It's very simple, and the user is manually added to have a projection there, so nothing really special. And otherwise, I'm using MidPoint 4.6, which is the latest version in default configuration. And I will follow exactly the documentation that is on the Evolveum web. And I will show you the documentation. It's called Troubleshooting with Traces, and it explains everything, how to set it up, how to capture the trace, and how to analyze it. So I'm roughly following this guideline. I won't read it here, but everything that I do, if you don't remember the steps, you can always consult this page and do it by yourself. So I will start with showing you the setup in MidPoint. So what I have here is just a single user. It's called test user, and there's nothing really special in there. I have the one projection into a CSV file. If I open it, there's nothing special there. You can see last name, first name, and some description. And if I check the attributes, again, nothing special, just a given name, family name. We have working title, employee, and some simple organization and organization unit. We have no assignments at all. You can see for now 0 assignments, so just basic user with single projection. And now I can show you my config into MidPoint Studio. So what I have here is just the bunch of roles that I will be using during the demonstration. And of course, the user is also here as an XML representation. I have a folder for traces, which is now empty, and I will use it to get the traces. Normally, the traces are stored in the MidPoint directory, and I just created a link so I have it directly into Studio and I don't have to copy it. I can show you there. This is just the directory. You can see the same XML files as was in the Studio. And if I open the traces directory, you can see is a link to my MidPoint /r/trace. So this is only so I don't have to copy the resulting trace. Otherwise, I would need to copy them into Studio. I just created the link so the demo is faster. Exactly, yes. Now I have it on my local machine, so it's very easy for me to work with that. But as you were saying, if it's run remotely, you just need to copy it somewhere where you have the Studio and then analyze it. Okay, back to presentation. So we will start with simple scenario number 1. I will add a role which has a focus mapping, really simple focus mapping. It's going to take given name and last name and concatenate them into full name. So really as simple as possible. And I have a condition. It will work only if both given name and last name are not null. So the full name really contains the given name and the last name. So, and I will capture the trace, and then we will analyze the trace and look what happened on the background so you can understand what's really happening. To be able to capture the trace, and this is written in the documentation that I show first, you have to configure this feature because it's experimental. So in the admin GUI configuration, I need to enable experimental features. You can do it with any version.
Okay.
And what right now, I'm having 4.6. It works the same in any other version. So I'm enabling experimental features. In some older version, you might need to sign out and sign in, but in 4.6, it should be all right, even without. And now when I open test user, you can see now I have here the tracing option. So whatever I do, I can capture the trace log. So I will add the role which contains the mapping that I just described from the given name and last name constructing full name. I click save. It will add the operation, and because I have tracing enabled, it will capture the log. Sorry, was there a question? Yes, now I check the functional tracing with model logging. It doesn't matter because the tracing is done when you click save. Before I will do it, I will show you what the full name role contains. I will switch to Studio and open this role. And as I was saying, it's really simple. It contains mapping, named full name mapping. Source is given name and family name. Target is full name. Expression, as I was saying, a given name, add space, add family name. And the condition is that either of them is null. So I want to run it only where both of them contain some value. So switching back to Studio, the tracing is on. Now I press save. Now the midpoint do the operation and save the log in the meantime. It's a little slower because it's really capturing a lot of information. Now it's done. Switching back to Studio, and in my folder traces, you can see the trace log is here. It's a zip file, but MidPoint Studio can open it and really extract the information from it. So I just double click, and I have this nice view. On the right portion of the screen, we have some trace options. There are different type of overviews. The all is a really complex one. Really hierarchical view of a lot of technical details. This is also a tool for the developers, so they can use it for debugging when they develop a new feature. For our purposes, functional overview is just enough what we need to see. So I will just filter it out. And also on the bottom part of my screen, I'm using this trace view. So it will display some details about what I will do in the main screen. So what I really want to see is the operation here, and I can see what is happening. Start with inbounds, then templates before assignments, evaluation of assignments, templates after assignment, policies, and so on and so on. And you can see the number here in inbound 0. It's how many rules were evaluated during this step. And because I have no inbound, there is a 0. There's nothing complicated, but I can even explain what's happening here. So if I click on it, you can see what's coming inside. You have some focus object, which is my user, and we have alt and current, which are currently completely the same. But as you are running through the evaluation, the current is constantly updating. So basically, by step, you are applying individual changes to it, and we will see this later. And then I have the primary delta, which you see I'm modifying user type, and I can even unroll it. and see I'm adding an assignment. If I click on it, here I see all the details. Basically adding a target ref with OID, which is role type. It's my full name role that I just add. That's the primary delta. That's the operation that I triggered. And then eventually we will get to secondary delta, which are derived operations from that. But none of this is happening on the inbound phase. So I will move to assignment. And this is the step where assignments are evaluated. And you can see number 1 here, telling you that something's happening. And this is very rough overview. Again, starting from focus alt and current, which is still the same. We have this primary delta, adding an assignment. But during this step, the secondary delta was computed. And the secondary delta says, I have just secondary delta before updating some metadata. And this is the secondary delta that's important for me, saying this one actually updated the full name and it should replace the value with test user because the resulting full name is test user. And after this is done, the new focus object, I can just display what is there, and I will see in the attributes that full name is already there. And from now, if I move to other steps, the current focus will contain the full name. So I will do just now, even this step is empty. If I open the focus alt, that's the object that I start with, but focus current should contain, or not yet, because it was not set applied, sorry. It will be done later in the step, so I will get to it. I get back to the assignments because I show you very rough overview, but I can get into details. So if I just unroll it, I see I have the assignment evaluation, and it's containing one mapping called full name mapping. So this is important to have your mappings named. It's very easy to get oriented when you have names. So you can see my mapping really was named full name mapping, and I can see it here. And what I see the sources. So source for given name, and it's always like old source and new source, because old is what happened before the primary delta, and the new one is after the primary delta. And because the primary delta was only adding an assignment, both are the same value. Also, the source for family name is always the same value user, and the output of this mapping is test user, which is exactly what I wanted. I can also see the condition was valid, and we have this true. It means it was true before I applied the primary delta and true after I applied the primary delta. And we will see some examples on how this works later. So basically this mapping generated the output test user. And then is a consolidation part, which might happen especially in multi-value attributes, because you can have values generated by multiple mappings, and this consolidation basically will combine all of them together. I will get to a better example later. So with this trace, I know that my mapping, full name mapping, actually generated the value as I expected. Then all of the steps are more or less empty. And there I have the projection, and projection part is just projecting all these changes to my CSV resource. So you can see that attribute full name was updated. And I see description was removed. That's my mistake. This was because I didn't clean it properly when I prepared the demo. Sorry for it. It shouldn't be there. That's just a side effect. But this full name is updated there, and then you see also what of metadata was modified. So even if you are debugging, you can see everything. Even if you don't see in the midpoint, all the metadata on the shadow was updated as well. And because the CSV file might have effect on something, it might contain some inbounds phase as well. It again runs the whole thing and evaluates all the mapping, but nothing's important is happening there. So if I get back to midpoint, you can see the full name was really applied. So what I can show you, let's say when I designing the role, I made error in the condition. So I can put wrong condition in there. And or I don't even have to. Let's put it back. I think I already made the error there. So let's say I remove the given name. And again, I will run it with tracing. Let's save it. Now, new trace is generated. I will open it again. And first, let's see what happened in midpoint. It put null user into my full name. I was hoping it won't just generate full name at all because one of the values are null. So I can use the tracing to debug this. So I might already expect that would happen in the assignments in my mapping. So I will open the mapping again, and I can go directly to the mapping. And I see there is 1 plus, 1 minus. So again, let's check what my source value were. Before the delta, I have given name test, and the delta saying the test is deleted, so it's empty now. And family name before the delta and after the delta is still user. And the output of the mapping is add null user as a value and remove test user, which was there before. How midpoint does this? Basically, it's run the mapping for all the values. This is the value that was there before, so it should be removed. And it runs it after applying the delta, and again run the mapping, which gets the value null user, and then add this value. And I see the condition was true, which is strange because I tried to make the condition if the either given name or family name is null, the condition should be false. So now I see the condition was evaluated as true, so I probably make an error in the condition. And if I check it, indeed, I have a typo in the condition. It should be or there. So, okay, I made a mistake. Let's fix it. Now the condition is hopefully correct. And now it should be enough to reconcile the user to fix it. Again, trace it. Save. Okay, it didn't work. Oh yeah, it didn't work because, well, I can check what happened. I'm not sure even now. But this is the good moment to test if the traces are really helping. So again, open the trace, go to the assignment section, go to the mapping, and I see there are no outputs. So I can see there was no change in the sources, but the condition was evaluated to false, so the mapping was not applied at all. Therefore, it didn't produce any value, therefore nothing was replaced. Okay, but maybe I expected the mapping will be evaluated and remove the value because the condition is false. But actually here I see the condition is false and therefore nothing is on the output. So again, I exactly know what happened. So I even know I might delete the full name and nothing will happen because the mapping doesn't do anything. I can do it. Let me check. Sorry. Yeah, it should. I don't have it here, but we can do it. Yeah, let's make this interactive. Strength strong. I'm not uploading it yet because I removed the value. Let's put something back there. So see, it's back. Strength is strong. I will upload a new row. And again, I can do it with tracing. Functional tracing. Reconcile the user and save. It doesn't delete it either, and we can check the tracer to help us understand what happened. I'm opening the trace. Again, check the assignment. And we can see the mapping has no output at all because the condition was false, so basically the mapping is skipped. And this is also only giving you a hint. You still need to understand a bit how the mappings work. Like you can see clearly here, the mapping has no output. So the mapping, the problem is in the mapping. If you see the mapping has output here and then nothing is stored, you have to check the rest of the trace and figure out where the value is lost. Yeah, but I have other options how to fix it. Going back to role, I don't have to rely on the condition. Let's just comment it out and put return true, so the condition is always true. But maybe put the condition there. Let's say if GivenName is null or family name is null. Return null. For example, like this. So the mapping is always enabled, but it either returns null or it returns the incorrect name. This might be the option. If I upload it now, and again, reconcile, trace it, save. Yes. But okay, let's check the trace. It should help me to understand what is happening. Go to the mapping. I see the condition is true, but output is 0. It's not. Yeah, output is empty value. And I could see this in the consolidation part. Yeah. I see what happened. This is why authoritative is used. But let me explain, because this is a good case how to understand what's really happening, and this is the basic principle how MidPoint works. So here I have the mapping, and what it's trying to do, it's run it before applying the delta and after applying the delta. And there is no delta because it was just a reconciliation. So it runs the mapping basically twice, resulting in both time resulting in a null value. So MidPoint thinks, okay, before there was null value. Now when I apply all the mappings, that's also null value. So there's no change. I don't need to do anything. This mapping is not authoritative, so we don't need to apply any changes. Therefore, we have no delta to process. And when we get to the consolidation phase, I see there is an existing item which was there for some reason. We don't know why. MidPoint doesn't know. It cannot know. And the delta is nothing. So the item can stay there. But for example, let's say I modify the object manually without MidPoint knowing. And what I will do, I will just manually put GivenName here. And save it. So this was like manual editing of the object. It doesn't trigger any mappings, nothing. So basically I get it manually into inconsistent state. But let's check what happened if I remove the GivenName now, and I will trace it. I was hoping this should remove the full name, but probably I missed something. But again, the trace log will explain what happened to us. So what I see, we have the source, which was changed from user to nothing. The other source family name is still user, and output is I know what happened. So the MidPoint thing, the before, this mapping produce value user because both GivenName and the family name was user. So the output before the delta was user, and after the delta, the output was null. So the result is, let's remove user value. Okay. And the consolidation said, okay, the item containing the full name, the delta is remove value user, which is not there already. So again, everything is good. So MidPoint is very tricky when you're trying to hack it somehow. And obviously the correct solution is put the tolerant, which I'm not sure if I can do from the memory. I think no, it's in the target path. Or I can even do set, that could work as well, I hope. Or this is maybe default. Oh, let's test it. And again, reconcile, trace, save. Yeah, this was it, and now we see the full name was deleted. And if I check the trace here again, so I now see it correctly says, okay, the output of the mapping is now remove value xxxxx, which was the one there, one in the full name, and the consolidation now as okay, we should remove the value xxxxx. This was the existing item, so the resulting data from the consolidation is really modify full name attribute, delete value xxxx, and later is evaluated. Okay, I think that was enough examples. I will just clean it and move to other example. And I will remove all the traces just to don't get lost in them. So that was the scenario number one. In the second scenario, I have two roles. I have a role called SetOrg, which just add constant Evolveum to organization attribute of a user. And that I have SetOrgConditional role, which is also adding Evolveum to organization attribute, but only if user title is equal to employee. So SetOrg is really simple. Inducement with focus mapping, strong mapping, and it has only target organization, and it put constant value Evolveum there. Very simple. The SetOrgConditional is the same role, but it depends on the title, which is source for it. Target is again organization attribute. Expression is constant value Evolveum, and you can see condition only apply when title is Evolveum. Title is employee. Sorry. So what I can do now? Let's put the conditional role there. I will edit. Back to basic attributes, you can see the title is employee. So this role and the mapping should be applied. Again, I will trace the result and save it. So in the idea, in the moment I will see the trace file here. Just taking a bit longer until idea will notice it's there. This is already saved. Just took a while. So again, now I see I have two assignments evaluated because I didn't remove the full name role. The mapping is strong, so it's always evaluated. But I have new assignment evaluation, our SetOrg role conditional. So full name mapping that we discussed in the previous scenario, and we have the new mapping, SetOrg conditional. And I can see the condition was true, that's okay, and the output is value Evolveum. And when I go to the consolidation phase, the existing item in the organization was value myOrg. The delta which should be evaluated is say plus Evolveum, so add this value. So the resulting delta is add to the attribute organization, add value Evolveum. So it works exactly as I expected, which is good. Now what I can do, because it was based on the condition, the title is employee. So if I change it, let's say to non-employee, and again trace it, save. It's done. Open the new trace. The only thing I want to show you here, if I open the mapping, you can see the condition is true, arrow false. That means that before the delta, before I changed the value of employee to non-employee, the condition was true, now it's false. So what MidPoint do is run it before the delta, so the condition was true, and the mapping was resulting in value Evolveum. After the delta, the condition is false, so the mapping doesn't produce anything. That means before it was Evolveum, after the delta is nothing, so the output should be minus Evolveum. Remove the value Evolveum. And in the consolidation stage, you can see we should again remove the value Evolveum. Existing item was containing myOrg and Evolveum, therefore the resulting delta is just delete Evolveum from the attribute organization, which is exactly what have happened. So the organization is again only myOrg and nothing else. Now what I will do, I will put back the employee. I won't trace it this time. And it was just adding Evolveum organization back. And I will add the other assignment, which is SetOrg role, which always, without any condition, gives the value Evolveum as well. I will just save it. It doesn't do anything, the Evolveum is still there. But now the case is, I have two assignments. One is always putting the value Evolveum there, the second one only on the condition. So let's remove the condition and let's check how it will show in the trace. So again, I'm changing title to non-employee, and I will trace this change. Everything done. I have new trace. I have 3 assignments now, because I have 3 assignments evaluated. I can see the mapping set organization without any condition. Condition is always true. There are no inputs, and there is output called 0. The output can be plus, minus, or 0. And 0 basically means the value was there and it's supposed to still be there. So you're not adding it, you're not removing it, you are just acknowledging the value should be still there. And if I check to the conditional mapping, I see again the condition was from true to false, as we already discussed. So the output is minus Evolveum. We want to remove Evolveum. So what happened in the consolidation phase on the organization attribute? We have 2 delta. We should remove Evolveum and we should keep Evolveum. 0 basically means keep. And the existing was my org and Evolveum. So the consolidation to exactly what we are expecting, basically if it's say it should be removed and also kept, the result is kept, because apparently one mapping say remove the value, other one saying keep the value. So how this works is the value is kept. If it was plus and minus, obviously it's added. If it's only minus, it's removed. And if you want to know all this detail, how it works, you really need to go deep in the code, but at least it's helping you to understand what's happening, so you can know what to look for. And you can see there is no output here at all. So basically there is no resulting delta, nothing, because nothing will happen. And really, if I go to the test user, the organization Evolveum is still there. Okay, third and the last example, this is a very complex one. I have AddDescription role, which have 2 purposes. One is it's take organization unit attribute and store it into description. And because organization unit is multi-value, I will just take all the values and join them with a comma. And that's it. And second option, it will add org unit into assignments. But it doesn't do it through something like inducement, but actually directly write it as a new assignment to the user. And SetOrgUnit role is just adding a constant value core employee to, sorry, I have a mistake here in the slide. It should be description. It's into organization unit attribute. So what should happen if I add this role? It will put organization unit into description, add new role, the new role, add new value to the organization unit, which should be again translated into description. At least that's my initial idea, which I will debug in a moment. So let's display this in the XML. So the AddDescription role, we have the description mapping, source is organization unit, target is description, and we are just processing all the values at the same time. This is the absolute relativity. And basically I'm just putting string org units, colon, and then joining all the organization unit with a comma. And if organization unit is empty, just return null, nothing else. Very simple mapping. And the second mapping is without source, just into assignment attribute, store new assignment for the second role. And the second role is this one. Again, very simple role, just saying into organization unit attribute, put constant value core employees. Okay, so let's see it in action. And to make it simpler, I will just remove all the assignment first, so the log is cleaner, but you don't have to do it, obviously. But I think now it would be easier for us to get oriented in what's happening. So here, my organization unit contains one value called my unit, and the description, as you can see, is empty. So I will add the role, add description role. I will, sorry, looks like some error. This is strange. Let me refresh it to be on the safe side. Start again. I don't know what happened. Maybe some lag on my computer because it's take a lot of power to run Zoom and the simulation in parallel. So again, adding the role. Enabling the trace. When I open the user, you can see the core employee was really added into organization unit, and the description contains my unit and core employees, which is correct. But when I look into my projection, into my user in the resource, I see for some reason the org unit, the description here also only contains my unit. So it doesn't correspond to the original description, which is really strange. Because when I look to my CSV configuration, the attribute is really simple. Just, this is my resource. Just take the description and store it into attribute description, non-tolerant, strong attribute. So what happened? Well, again, the trace should help me to figure that out. And this one will be a bit complicated, but hopefully we can understand it. So again, checking what is here. I'm curious about assignments. So what happened? There is the description mapping, and I see the output was only because the source, the organization unit, now contains only value my unit, nothing else. So the output for the description was only org units my unit. The second one is missing there. Then there was the second mapping, which you set the role. And I can see the output is, okay, let's set the role. It's the correct role, which should set a new organization unit. Then we have this consolidation, nothing special there. The resulting data is really to modify description and put the value with only my unit. And second one is modify assignment. And this is because it contains all the metadata, but you can see the correct value, the correct role is here as well. And what happened next? I don't have any templates, I don't have any focus policy, activation on the resource, I don't care about it. And there is a projection part. which is actually projecting the changes to the CSV resource. And I can see the description was really modified, and the value stored there is my unit, which is the value that I actually saw there. And then that's it. And then I see there was the evaluation continued, and there was second phase of evaluating assignments. So what happened there? Okay, I have again the organization unit mapping, and I see now I have the output of value core employees. That should be added there. And yeah. Well, again, not this is a zero output. This is the mapping from the SetOrgUnit roles, adding new org unit, nothing special there. And then I have mapping for the description, the important one, which saying before there was my unit, now I have new delta, saying core employees was added to my source. So my output is okay. That means that I should I should remove the old value saying my unit and add new value saying my unit and core employees. Then the rest of the mappings doesn't do anything important for us. Basically, there is zero changes. Zero means it's not either edit or remove it. It's just keeping the same value. And I have the consolidation for description saying add one, delete one. Basically, we have this plus, new value with my unit and core employees, minus my unit. The existing item was only containing my unit. So the resulting delta, we have two of them. One is delete my unit, and second one add my unit core employees, which is exactly what I want. But when I scroll down, there is no projection to the CSV. It's basically empty, and I only see the resulting delta is written into focus. So the organization unit was correctly added, and the description was correctly replaced, but only in the focus, in the user object, not in the CSV. So I know what happened. I might not understand, but you can ask your colleagues or dig deep in the documentation, and I will explain to you what happened. And again, the trace is to help you understand what really happened, know why you have to read from the documentation. It's not that perfect tool. So what MidPoint is doing, basically, it runs all the stages. It runs all the inbounds, all the templates, all rules in assignments, and so on, and then project all this. And because MidPoint is trying to be really optimized, this should be enough, unless you have something stupid in the configuration, which I have right now. My problem is my assignment is adding another assignment, which is really strange, and you have basically no reason why assignment should be adding another assignment except of common mechanisms like including. Therefore, the assignments are not evaluated again. So the MidPoint computes everything, which doesn't contain the perfect data. Then it runs projection on the CSV, but because the CSV projection might also load some attributes because of inbound mapping, it will just try to process all the changes. And as a side effect, it also noticed there is one extra assignment, so it runs the assignment too. But MidPoint doesn't expect that the resulting of this new assignment should change anything on the CSV. So because of the optimization, it doesn't do the projection again. And this might seem strange, but this is optimization, and usually it works perfectly. And I can even see if I try to reconcile, and I will just preview the changes now here in MidPoint, you will see it will fix the CSV resource and put the value there because it's supposed to be there. So what I did wrong, and this might help me to realize it, if I open my role, which was this AddDescription. I really shouldn't have here this focus mapping, which will just add a new role directly into assignment, but I should rather use straight inducement to this role, which would work as I expected. And again, the trace view might help me to do that. So this is all I have prepared for today, and hopefully we have a few more minutes to discuss this. So do you have any questions, any impressions? Yes. There might be some changes in details, but the principles are still the same. And I know it looks very complicated and you need to click through it by yourself a few times that you start understanding, and then maybe read a bit of the documentation to really understand what's happening there. But what I really like that you can see, for example, the conditions, the outputs. And if you're expecting that the mapping should produce some output, the output is not there, you immediately know, oh, okay, something is wrong with this mapping. Yeah, the file is in MidPoint directory /var/trace. It's always there, and you can either copy it into MidPoint Studio, and I was just doing a symlink on my file system, so I don't have to copy it all the time, and MidPoint Studio can reach it directly. Yeah, you just copy the zip file somewhere and then open it with MidPoint Studio, and you will see the same screen that I was seeing. Yeah, good to hear that. And there's a lot of more. I just want to explain basics today, how to debug the mappings, and you see a lot of other data if you spend the time with it. But just keep in mind, this is still experimental feature, and it was developed as a tool for developers to help them with anything they need to do. But it's proven to be quite effective tool also for us, engineers, implementators, who wants to debug some simple things like mappings. Thank you for today. I hope it was useful, and see you in 2 weeks.